Ding dong, the witch is dead. We got a banned and restricted announcement August 10, 2026, so this comes to us yesterday. Badgermole Cub is now banned. So is Stormchaser's talent and Gran. So let's get into it. So this is huge news for Standard. Simply because like the Badgermole Cub and the Stormchaser's talent, like those are two heavily enabling cards that have made just a couple of decks a little bit too powerful and have been really good at pushing out a lot of slower, more dirtily kind of decks. It's like if you weren't teching to beat these cards, they would just steamroll you every single time because they just generate way too much value for what they do. Badgermole Cub accelerates your mana production to absurd amounts, and Stormchaser's talent has been like the linchpin holding together these Is-It Prowess and like elemental lessons decks for, I want to say, like the last like almost 2 years at this point. So it's about damn time Stormchaser's talent has been banned. And Gran got kind of like a stray bullet as well, which is a little unfortunate, but honestly, Gran's pretty damn good too. So let's get into this real quick and find out exactly why the people at Wizards of the Coast felt that these three cards need to get banned from Standard. Oh, also, if you are interested and you happen to play Legacy or Vintage, the Fantasticar was banned as well. If you have not been keeping track, there have been decks in Legacy and Vintage that have managed to get this on the table and fulfill the conditions of this card as early as the first turn. So that was a very obvious ban right there. I think we all saw that one coming if we've been paying attention. But the standard bans, I'm very surprised to see this at this point in time, mostly because I felt like Standard has been somewhat healthy over like the last like 6 months or so. I was not expecting these cards to get banned, but I'm super happy they are, because that means we can all start building more fun decks to play and experiment with Standard and try new stuff. So let's get into it here. So howdy gamers, my name is Carmen Clomperens and I'm a senior game designer on Magic's Play Design team. After an exciting Modern Pro Tour in Amsterdam just a few weeks ago, we're setting our sights on Standard as we gear up for its season of regional championship qualifiers. Standard isn't the only format getting attention, however, and we'll be talking about some of Magic's most popular formats. As usual, we'll be on Weekly MTG on twitch.tv/magic tomorrow, August 11th at 10 a.m. PT to talk through these changes and answer questions. As a reminder, the next banned and restricted announcement will be October 12, 2026. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get into it. So let's go into Standard. That is what I'm going to cover here, because this is the important thing here. Written by Jaden Clomperens, Badgermole Cub is banned, Stormchaser's talent is banned, and Gran is banned. For the last several months, Standard has been headlined by two strategies that are clearly ahead of the pack. Badgermole Cub-based strategies in green and various decks utilizing blue-red non-creature spells. For most of this time, the gap between these two strategies and the rest of the format was discernible but not insurmountable, and many decks could find success each weekend. That's kind of what I'm getting at here too. It's like, yeah, I've seen a lot of Visit decks running around. I've seen a lot of Badgermole decks running around, but these decks are creature-based decks. Very easy to handle if you're running enough removal, running enough interaction. So these aren't insurmountable decks to beat. The standard metagame was diverse and changed over time. The green decks evolved from Ouroboros decks to Nature's Rhythm decks to landfall strategies. The blue-red decks splintered into Is-It Prowess, Is-It Lessons, Is-It Spelementals. We saw new decks like Mardu Discard and 4-color Control emerge during this period. Standard had some problems, but it was healthy overall, and we elected to not ban cards during our updates to the banned and restricted list. Recently, the gap between the top decks and the rest of the field has widened. The biggest development is a new Badgermole deck called Selesnya Offense that has emerged as the strongest green variant. Like previous variants that incorporated Nature's Rhythm, its focus is on ending the game as quickly as possible, with the help of practiced offense from Secrets of Strixhaven. This iteration is more resilient and difficult to attack thanks to its utility lands and a creature suite focused on resilience, including a hexproof threat in Leatherhead Swampstalker. Yeah, I'll agree with that. The Selesnya version is probably the strongest version, and Practiced Offense is one crazy good card. I've been playing it recently in was it Delirium, Naya Delirium, and that card has been absolutely like integral in that build. That card is amazing. So yeah, here's an example sampler of what Selesnya offense looks like. Yeah, 4 Badgermoles, Bright Glass Gear Hulk, Jennifer Walters, Leatherhead, Llanowar Elves, Ouroboros, Paw Patch, Spider Manifestation, excellent card, Surrak Lucifer. Yeah, this is a very solid base for a deck here. Yeah. Okay, so moving on in their explanation here, the world of competitive Magic has largely shifted its attention to Modern of the last 2 months with the Modern Regional Championship Qualifier Season and Pro Tour Magic Marvel Superheroes receiving the brunt of competitive pressure. Because of this, there haven't been high-level tournaments for Selesnya offense to succeed in, and our picture of the shape of the Standard metagame is fuzzier than it would be if Standard were under a higher degree of competitive pressure. Despite this lack of in-person tournaments to look at, the story told by our data on MTG Arena is clear. Selesnya offense has the highest win rate by a large margin, winning over 57 of its matches, and it also has the second highest play rate. Normally, win rates fall as play rates climb. Decks that can maintain a high win rate while also having high play rates are large threats to the balance of formats. In fact, the overall profile of the Selesnya offense deck in our data is very similar to what Vivi Ornithier's and Agatha's Soul Cauldron's data looked like at the time we banned Vivi Ornithier. See, that's a pretty important measure right there. The fact that this deck is winning more and more at high play rates, that I agree, that is definitely a problem. Because usually when you get more and more people playing a deck, the win rate goes down because not everyone plays at the same level. There are some people that will just outplay and like outmaneuver a deck. Not everyone plays at the same level. Most of the time, when a new deck breaks onto the scene with a high win rate and quickly picks up steam, it's not cause for alarm. It takes time for players to figure out how to play against the new strategy and adapt their sideboards and strategies to face it. In this case, Selesnya offense is not a brand new deck. It's an evolution of one of the format's pillars and represents a new balance of resiliency and speed with few weaknesses. The combination of a sustained high win rate and play rate in our data, in addition to Badgermole Cub's history of dominance, is concerning. Rather than wait for the upcoming Standard RCQ season to prove the Selesnya offense will be problematic for in-person Standard, we're electing to act now. Banning cards in Standard is something we take very seriously. We generally err toward being conservative with changes in Standard. Standard being stable is important for its long-term health. The risk that this Standard format becomes severely imbalanced and not fun to play is high enough for us to take action today. Our goal with today's changes is to pave the way for Standard to be a fun and diverse format as competitive pressure returns to it. Yep, I agree 100%, especially because, like, if you remember the season of RCQs when Vivi was, like, at the top of its game, you saw fewer and fewer people actually attending the tournament. Like, I think, like, tournament attendance was down, like, almost 50%. Because people just didn't want to play in that environment. It just was not fun for them to play in. So they had to take action. Vivi had to go. So now we're seeing a similar thing with Badgermoles and Izzet decks. So I really can't say I'm too surprised. Badgermole is the clear choice for a card to ban from a Selesnya offense. Badgermole Cub has been an extremely powerful and format-defining card in Standard ever since it was released. Truer words have never been said. We've discussed it at length in several previous banned and restricted announcements. It is a cheap threat that demands an immediate answer and lets its controller develop an insurmountable mana advantage. Yes, absolutely. I will often throw things like Torch the Tower or Requiting Hex in my decks, specifically because Badgermole is so damn good. It's like, you must deal with this guy right now. Otherwise, next turn, if they get to untap, they're going to just be throwing so much pressure onto the table, and like you have to deal with this now. Because not every deck is going to be running like a bunch of board wipes to deal with this problem. It's like Badgermole is strong. It's way too strong. It does way too much for only 2 mana. It's a crazy card. Now, where was I? Is a huge threat. Yep. The pressure Badgermole exerts on decks to be able to answer a 2-mana creature forces them to value mana efficiency highly and compresses the format in unhealthy ways. Without Badgermole Cub, Standard will be more fun and have more breathing room. I agree. Our data shows that Standard has 3 distinct decks at the top in terms of metagame share. We've discussed the top deck in terms of win rate at length already, Selesnya Offense. The other 2 most played decks are Jeskai Lessons and Izzet Prowess, well, which represent the blue-red side of the Standard environment's historic dichotomy. To prevent one of these established decks from taking over as the best deck in the format after banning Badgermole Cub, we are electing to also ban a card from Izzet Prowess and a card from Jeskai Lessons. So that's why they're banning the Gran and was it? I forgot the name of the card. You know what I'm talking about, though. Okay. All right. So let's get into it here. So yeah, this is an example of an Izzet Prowess deck here. So Stormchaser's Talent. That's the card I'm looking for. Yeah, that's the card that is banned now. So 4 copies of that. They're running Roaring Furnace. They're running Edimere Crab, Color Storm Stallion. Yeah, this is a very popular deck. I played a little bit of it on the channel a few months ago when Color Storm Stallion came out. I played this with was it Ashling's Command to just do a good, like, very strong combo finish. It was a really fun deck. I played it for a good couple weeks before moving on to a different deck. Yeah, Burst Lightning, Get Out, Opt, Spell Pierce. Yeah, Boomerang Basics, Flow State. Yeah, all of the usual suspects in this deck here. Yeah. Izzet Prowess has been strongest among the various blue-red variants for a while. It is a fast and aggressive deck capable of winning the game early while also maintaining a high degree of interaction. Watching Izzet Prowess during this standard environment has taught us that we need to be more deliberate with Prowess and cards that reward cheap spells in a 3-year standard schedule. A large card pool leads to greater access to cheap spells. Stormchaser's Talent is Izzet Prowess's keystone card and the card we are electing to ban. Stormchaser's Talent is a 1-mana card that lets Izzet Prowess pull off to fast starts and gives the deck a strong late game thanks to its interaction with Boomerang Basics. This combination of early game and late game strength is something we think is inappropriate for a 1-mana card. Yeah, no kidding. It's 1 mana. It's so good. Cards that cheap shouldn't be so well-rounded and shouldn't compete with more expensive cards as the game goes long. Without Stormchaser's Talent, blue-red decks will be a little slower and easier to overcome in the late game. And then we have an example of Jeskai Lessons here. So, yep, 4 copies of Gran. We got the Tablet of Discovery. We got all these nice cards right here. They're going to be drawing and discarding. All the lessons, Jeskai Revelation. Absolutely evil deck. Absolutely. So yeah, Gran's gotta go. Sorry, Gran. Lessons decks are a blue-red variant that have been consistently strong in Standard since release. Jeskai Lessons is a new evolution of them that incorporates Tablet of Discovery and Jeskai Revelation to gain a powerful late game. It's one of the variations of blue-red that doesn't commonly play Stormchaser's Talent, and it has the highest play rate in Standard on MTG Arena. To prevent Lessons variants from taking the top slot in the next iteration of Standard, we're choosing to ban Gran. Gran is a powerful mana engine for Lessons decks. Like Badgermole Cub, it demands a quick answer due to its snowbally nature. Like Stormchaser's Talent, it's an inappropriately threatening 1-mana card that provides too much late-game advantage for a card that costs 1 mana. Gran is in a unique spot as Jeskai Lessons is light on creatures, making counterplay against the deck more difficult. It demands an answer, but creature removal is weak against the rest of the Jeskai Lessons deck. With all 3 of today's bans, we are acting to improve the metagame diversity of Standard and slow down the format. The biggest gameplay issue of this Standard environment has been its speed. The strongest cards and strategies have forced decks to interact earlier to compete in the metagame, putting immense pressure on decks to compress their mana curves as much as possible. Badgermole Cub decks have historically been capable of winning games as early as turn 3, and they commonly win on turn 4 or 5. Izzet Prowess is similarly capable of ending games in the early turns. This is faster than we want Standard to be. Magic Design has learned much from this particular Standard environment. We have greatly increased our level of scrutiny on 1 and 2 mana cards that demand an answer to prevent early snowball starts. Similarly, we've put a lot of thought and energy into what we want the speed of Standard to be and how we can design cards to make that a reality. These adjustments have been in the works for a while, and we will soon start to see sets release where those learnings are incorporated. I certainly hope so, because Standard being so wide of a format and it being so efficient with all the cards we have access to have been really detrimental to the long-term success of Standard. It's like we really have to take into account all of these cards that are really great on turns 1 and 2, because like those are really pivotal turns. So you really have to find ways to deal with those very problematic decks early. Because and the thing about these really strong early game cards is that they all demand answers, and they demand that you craft your decks in such a way that you don't get just steamrolled by these decks. So slower, more dirtily decks, they tend to just fall prey to these super efficient win by turn 4 decks. So I'm really glad that they have made this change, and it has me specifically really excited to start building decks again and figuring out new things and new ways to play. So I'm really happy with this band announcement. So let's get out there and let's start building some more decks and see what we can come up with. So new decks coming on the channel very soon. So what has this done for you? Is this reinvigorated you to jump back in and play some Magic and craft some new decks? Or has this been something to piss you off? I mean, are you a Izzet enjoyer? Do you enjoy the Badgermole Cub just a little bit too much? Has this ban kind of made you upset? Either way, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be happy to read those and reply to each one I see. So, until next time, you take care of yourselves.